Hi, good afternoon. Jonathan Bourke here, Business Manager for Elmhurst in Scotland and Northern Ireland. I put a wee video out on our LinkedIn feed the other day where I said I was going to do some recordings for our YouTube channel, within which I'll explore a few key areas and share some best practices on some of the support that's on offer as we all begin to get back to normal and emerge from post-lockdown life. Now, I picked an interesting topic for you today. It's the Legionella Risk Assessment Competency Scheme. Bear with me on this one. Now, the reason I've selected this particular scheme is because of all the ones that we offer, this one has grown exponentially since its launch. And I think it's important to look into the reasons behind that, because now that we're beginning to look towards getting back to normal, those particular reasons, if anything, have become even more prominent and will represent a fantastic opportunity to help in the bounce back. So placing it in context, what happened last year? Last year up here in Scotland there was a change in the law. So landlords are now legally obliged to have a Legionella risk assessment conducted on all properties within their portfolios. Very similar to an energy performance certificate or gas safety check. At the same time, there's been an increase in demand from clients over the firms that they're engaging and conducting due diligence on to make sure that they ultimately know what they're doing and can demonstrate that. Then at the same time for us, we've had a number of clients who've come to us who up until that point had no previous existing commercial arrangement with Elmhurst. So typically plumbing and heating engineers, environmental consultancies, to name a few. So I'm going to give you an idea of what the scheme actually is, what it involves, but most importantly what sort of benefits are conferred on members, together with covering off the potential size of the marketplace out there for us all. So the competency scheme, it's for any suitably qualified Legionella risk assessor. The good news is we will accept copies of certificates through from most of the awarding organisations here in the UK, but if someone finds themselves without the adequate qualification, we are about to launch our training course online, and I'll welcome some inquiries on that as well. What the sole purpose of the scheme is to demonstrate to a client that you are suitably competent in the 4 key areas that will always form the basis of their reasonable inquiries, as it's called. Because when we look at the landlord marketplace in particular, although the landlords are legally responsible for their premises and their properties, very often a management company or a letting agent is appointed to oversee the day-to-day activities, and these 4 key areas that I'm going to run through with you are always going to be at the forefront of any discussions. Now, if you don't have a pad and a pen handy, can I suggest you hit pause, you nip off and get one and take a note of some of these things, because it's important that you're aware of certain considerations from a client's perspective before you begin those initial approaches out to them. Okay. So what are clients looking for? And believe you me, I've been there, I've been a client, I know exactly what's important when it comes to contractor verification. So number one, you need to know that the company or the individual you're appointing has the relevant skills, knowledge and experience to be able to carry out those works. Number two, you want to look at codes of conduct that they adhere to, whether that's health and safety guidance, whether it's internal. It's important to see what systems and controls are in place and what processes will be followed. On that links nicely into the third part, which is to do with quality management and what sort of auditing takes place, whether that's internal or external or a combination of the two. But lastly, and very, very significantly, when we consider that the bacteria that we're talking about here can be lethal in the wrong situations, it's all to do with safeguards and liability in particular. And as a client, you need to know that you yourself will be protected at a later date following the appointment of someone to conduct assessments on your behalf or your own clients. Okay? So you find yourself qualified, you find yourself with the need to demonstrate competence out there in a client's eyes. How do you go about doing it? Very straightforward. You apply for membership of the scheme online. It's worth mentioning on that, it's always an individual who applies for membership. But because there's no fee incurred within the first 12 months of membership, it makes no difference whether that's one person at an organisation or whether you have an entire team of colleagues interested in joining up. There's no charge whatsoever for membership in the first 12 months. And for subsequent years, there'll be no further charge as long as in the previous 12 months there's been a minimum of 25 Legionella risk assessments submitted through on the system. Now, talking of submitting it through, a bit of good news for you. We will provide you with the software that's required to produce fully compliant Legionella risk assessments. Whether you want to do that on a PC, whether you're using an app on an iPad, it doesn't matter. Whatever works best for you, you'll be provided with the software to produce those reports. The reports are excellent. They'll cover off all the elements of the hot and cold water systems within the premises. Schematic diagrams, photographs can be added together with the most important part of it, which is the risk assessment as far as the occupants of the property are concerned. That's all included as standard, and we actually have a number of member firms within the scheme who are, quite frankly, are here only because of the software and the reports that it produces, because it is very, very professional. And if you want to see an example of a report, ping me an email. And similarly, if you want a demo of the software, jump onto our website, download the app, ping me through a message, and I'll give you a dummy username and password to be able to have a play around on the system. Okay. Now, in terms of the running costs, it's important to be upfront with that. Each and every time you submit a Legionella risk assessment, there's a charge of £5 plus VAT, and that's it. Okay, but in the background, what happens is those reports are uploaded onto our system, and we'll randomly select a certain number each year from each assessor, and we'll audit those and deliver feedback. So make a wee note of that as well. Again, emphasise that out to your clients that you are independently audited. Similarly, within that £5 fee, an element of that is funding the insurance in the background. So again, make a note of that. You'll have professional indemnity and public liability insurance, each to the value of £10 million included as standard as a member of your scheme, of the scheme on a pay-per-click basis. So going forward, who are we looking to engage with ourselves? Best way to answer that is to look at our current members. So at one extreme we have a number of one-man bands. Now that might be existing Elmhurst energy assessors who have the Legionella risk assessment qualification as a very effective add-on service that they offer to their own clients. And in fact, for some members, it's evolved to the stage where that's actually become the core business that they're now offering out. We've also welcomed applications I mentioned earlier from plumbing and heating engineers, all the way up to the other extreme where we have some large national corporate clients. So typically firms who on a daily basis will send out teams of surveyors, chartered or otherwise, maintenance officers, engineers, anyone who's going out in a safety context into residential customers' properties really has to consider how well this might align with their own products and services. And for some, the Legionella risk assessment has actually become a very effective foot in the door for them to then spin back the way towards their own core products and services that they offer. We're also widening membership and the support that we offer to help new entrants to the industry. So there's a lot of people out there who unfortunately are looking at career changes through no fault of their own. I'll be happy to help anyone. Makes no difference to me whether you're an individual person or a large national player. If you need help, that's what I'm here for. Because what I notice very interestingly when I look at the data is that there are a number of people who have the qualification, the certification, the accreditation, fantastic, but then I look at the other extreme and the revenue that's come in, and there's a bit of room for improvement there, shall we say. And there's a very simple explanation for that. You see, what's missing there is what's known as a sales process, or rather an effective sales process. And that's where I will lend my own expertise to be able to help you in turn win work. That might be around the design of the process, it might be how to identify and approach the correct type of target client for your organisation. Are you looking at people whose core values emulate your own? Or are you sending 1,000 emails off a day to various info at mailboxes and then sitting back and waiting for the phone to ring? Believe you me, there are more effective ways to win work, and I'll be delighted to help you with it. One last thing on that, the size of the marketplace. Up here in Scotland, there are 900,000 rented properties, and of those, just over 500,000 are social, so council and housing associations. But of the remaining balance, we're looking towards ownership by private landlords. The size of the market is phenomenal, and despite the exponential growth that we've enjoyed, there is still a massive scope for further development within this arena. So I'll ask you the favour to ping me an email and we'll discuss further. We'll schedule a meeting in at some point during July. Admittedly, that will need to be Skype, Zoom, Teams, or maybe just a good old-fashioned phone call. But I'll look forward to discussing further with you throughout the month and looking at what I can do to help going forward. And I'll thank you very much indeed for your time today.